Hey guys, welcome to another episode of MAFS, and this is season 18, episode 18. Today, I'm very excited because I have my faves, yes, I said it, faves on here today, and we're complete. We have From the Fryer podcast with Ellie and Leon with me. Hi guys.
Hi, how are
Hello.
you doing? We're
I'm,
so excited to be here.
yes, and for a
Yeah,
good
thank you so
episode too.
much. Thank
You
you.
are
Thank you so
welcome.
much for having us on.
You're most welcome. And this was a good episode too. So I'm sure we have so much to talk about. But before we get into that, just a little housekeeping, guys. Reminder that you can get bonus episodes on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/altacall MAFS. Currently covering Love is Blind on there. So the most recent episode is up there. And I wanted to let you know, like, if you didn't want to join any of the tiers or levels that's on there, you can join as a free member. You don't have to pay, and you can still participate in the chats that are on there. So you can ask me any questions, you can say any thoughts on any reality shows, and there are other people there who would communicate with you in chat, and it's fun. Just wanted to let you guys know that. Are you guys watching Love is Blind?
We are not, which feels crazy because we are so into Married at First Sight. I have not seen one episode of that show.
I
Ever,
feel
ever?
like never. I feel like Ellie and I have almost like we've hit our mental capacity for drama. So we have our set few shows. So usually we cover Sister Wives and then Married at First Sight, and then we used to cover 90 Day,
Yeah.
and it was too much of a dumpster fire, which I am feeling like MAFS is getting there, especially with this season. So yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely feel like we hit our quota.
Yeah. You're the smart ones. You have to give yourself a barrier and have boundaries and be like, this is it. This is all I'm listening to, and that's fine. Okay, well, this season would be one if you wanted to watch. There's not really much drama, to be honest with you, but yeah. Okay. This episode, we might as well call it Cringe Fest 2025 Maths Edition because a lot of cringe moments, a lot of David and Madison content, and a lot of my jaw being on the floor and me trying to pick it up. What did you
I
guys think?
had so many emotions, none of which were good. Just terrible. I'm cringing. I'm embarrassed. I'm concerned. I'm worried. Just so many emotions this week.
The entire time we're watching this, I just keep saying, let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a spade a spade.
You might as well. But I think what it reminded me is I always tell my friends, you have to be a certain kind of person to go on reality TV. And I think this episode proved that with all the decisions being made, whether rational, whether irrational, so erratic, and all the things just being said, I'm like, well, yeah, it is in them. If they could sign up to marry a stranger and be on TV, they would do these kind of things. So it was
That's a
confirmation for me.
great point because I know I couldn't do it. So
Yeah.
that's why they're on there and I'm definitely not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we pick up with the group meetup at Juan's, I don't know, event space warehouse thingy. And Michelle says that she's embarrassed that she stuck up for her being Madison. And she even came down to her and asked Michelle, why would you bring me into this? Like, you should respect me, Michelle, but you didn't respect me, babe. And I'm like, okay.
Just calling Leon passive aggressively babe all weekend. I've already decided.
That's fun. Madison is like, you want to do this right now, babe? Camille is like, ooh, that's a lot of babes. And then Michelle's like, don't repeat me, babe.
Camille's side commentary is always the best of any argument.
It is. It was like watching a tennis volley, just back, forth, back, forth. Madison says she's never lied and she didn't know the text was for her. Do we believe that?
No.
Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
The
This was an interesting.
audacity.
Yeah, this was an interesting conversation because I don't know if I've ever seen this much evidence piled against a villain arc, but the
Mhm.
villain doesn't think they're the villain.
Yes. That is some, like you just said, Ellie, that is some audacity because double, triple, quadruple downing on something where you're wrong is wild to me.
Madison asking, why are you mad? Ma'am, like, come on. You're texting and most likely doing other things with this woman's husband. She doesn't want this to be her husband, but it doesn't matter. The law says that's her husband.
Yes. Yep. And then she asked her, she's like, don't act like you care. Don't act like you give a fuck about him. And she's like, why do you care? And Michelle is like, I thought you were my friend, but you lied and it hurt me.
Not a girl's girl.
So
she,
there was something said here where I couldn't tell, and please keep me honest, if this was said out loud in for our viewing pleasure, or was this a part of a group chat where she mentions, you said this isn't my man and is never going to be my man. Is
yes.
that a group text thing, or did she say that out loud?
I think when they were talking, whenever they were complaining, well, she was complaining or saying what was going on with her marriage. I don't think we saw it. I think maybe when they went out, well, at least that was
Gotcha.
my
Gotcha.
interpretation of that. And remember, she kept saying that they were chatting because they were in the same position. Their marriages weren't great. So maybe in one of
I
those
think
chats.
that's even more schemy. I mean, you have
Yes.
this friend confiding in you, telling you the struggles that are going on in their relationship, and you're thinking, "Oh, this is like my way in," or "I'm kind of into David."
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just it's so wrong.
And then he gets information because, of course, she's sharing what Michelle is sharing with them, with
True,
him.
true.
So it's a one up. Michelle says again, you were acting like a friend, but texting David. And then to your point, Madison says he's not my. You said he's not your man, will never be your man, and we can see David in the background. I don't care what he's saying. He's loving this. His like two blonde women fighting over me. This is the life. This is the
His
dream.
dream, exactly. And I couldn't believe that Madison then shifted her anger and was then defending David, saying,
Yeah.
why are you mad at David? I don't understand. How could you be confused by any of this?
Yeah. I think because she thought she was doing a big one trying to catch Michelle. Like, if you're mad at me because you thought we were friends and you said you didn't care about him, what are you exactly mad about? And I'm like you said, why shift it? Like, just take the whatever you think, eat humble pie and just be quiet and just take it on the
Yes.
chin. But that is not an option for Madison. So Michelle, for the 100th time, is like, it doesn't matter. You lied to my face for 2 months. And then Carla chimes in because I think she asked at some point, what did I lie about? And Carla chimes in, is like, okay, this is getting, crazy. You are questioning her. And Madison tells Michelle, don't act like that. And Michelle says, you don't get to tell me how to act. And Madison is like, you don't get to tell me how to act. And I'm like, what? What?
No, you.
It goes back to what you said, Tane, where you got to take your licks. Like,
Yeah.
you're in the wrong. Just take it for what it is. Eventually, you'll move on. And they're not willing to admit that they're in the wrong.
Yeah. I think they're not willing to. And even they think, I've said I'm sorry once and that should be enough. And I'm like, no, when you're that in the wrong, you keep saying sorry over and over again. I mean, for those that know the Bible, I think even Jesus said, you forgive 70 times, 7 times. Well, you have to ask for forgiveness that many times to get forgiven.
That's
So
right.
just keep talking.
Yeah, don't come together wearing matching red outfits and be aggressive. That's not the way to do it.
So Michelle is like, okay, I forget. You are the victim here. And Madison's like, no, I'm not the victim. You are trying to change your storyline. And Alan chimes in, like, no, her story never changed. But I want to talk about this, guys. I think he misunderstood because not that I'm, covering for Madison here or supporting her, but I think I know what she meant. Like, you were kind of an asshole the first few times. You realized that you got an out, and now you're trying to change it to be like, oh no, I'm hurt.
Yeah, which I can totally see too.
I think the community is trying to do their best to remind everyone of how bad Michelle was from the
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because this is such a bombshell, I think maybe for the majority of viewers, it's kind of getting washed away of that past, even though it was only a few weeks ago. But I'm on the side where, yes, I know Michelle, she wasn't open. She didn't accept David. She was super negative towards him. But, if I'm putting myself in their shoes, I have signed up for this experiment. This experiment has guidelines, guidelines I'm supposed to follow. And I feel like they not only disrespected folks that became their friends, they disrespected their partners, the experts, the show, the marriage in itself. And it's fascinating how it's almost like it hasn't hit them that they've impacted all of these people. Even their apologies that they've given,
Hmm.
they just seem very flat. I don't
Yes.
believe them. They come with this attitude, and both of them are on the same script of, believe what you want to believe. And I'm like, that's not how this works when you're in the wrong.
Yes.
Also,
Absolutely.
I'm so annoyed that we had a clear villain. That was Michelle. We knew she was in the wrong. And then they made it so easy for us to forget or at least push it aside because there are even more villains.
Yes, they completely messed it up. And to your point, Leon, that goes to show their true nature. They're so selfish that they don't realize the impact. And you can tell by the fact that they only focus on, I'm sorry we went about the wrong way. I'm sorry we went about the wrong way. But they don't take into words what Carla, I think, had mentioned at the retreat, where you have kind of broken the circle of trust within the group. And that's going to
Yes.
reverberate to everybody else.
100%.
So,
100%.
but they don't care. They just want to get theirs in. So,
Here's a thought. Now that we've witnessed sort of the aggressive side of Madison, or more of the defensive side of Madison, do we think that is coming from David, or are we now witnessing the real Madison?
this has always been the real Madison. I think earlier, I can't remember what episode it was where I sounded like I was just picking on her. And I was like, listen, when Michelle was still an asshole. And I was like, Madison is the same as Michelle. She just has a smile and she knows what she's doing. So, which even makes it worse because Michelle is just being herself. Madison is, this is a strong word, but diabolical because she's calculating. I'm
I would,
sorry.
for sure, I would definitely
Very calculating.
I would pick the Michelle route, because in the road that Madison took, it ended up emotionally really impacting someone. Well, in some sense, emotionally and physically for Alan.
Yeah.
I hate that I gave props to Madison so many times in the beginning, saying like she's one of the best to ever do it with Alan. She's not into him, but she's being very respectful.
I
No,
was
no,
right
no.
there
That
with
was
you.
the act. Yep. That was the act. This is real Madison, and she does not care.
She was who inspired me to say we need to stop giving props for trying because she's like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
we're trying. And I was like, stop it. Don't come
There
in
you
here to try.
go.
Go all in and then do
I
what she
love
needs to
that.
do. But I want another question I have. Would you rather, I think because something Leon said where they broke the rules or the guidelines of the show and disrespected the show, the experts and everything, which is more disrespectful? What David and Madison did or what the season 17 crew did with trying to lie and create a storyline and all that things. I don't
Oh,
know.
they're packed.
Yes.
Oh, probably the pact, honestly. But I don't know. Personal level, David and Michelle are real high on that list. But I think the fact that last season it was everyone, that's pretty bad.
I think for me, it depends on who am I in this situation. Am I the person that got cheated on? Then that's definitely the one I'm picking. But if I'm outside of that situation, then it's probably the group, because there was so many people involved and they were decently okay at keeping the lies going.
How about as a viewer, like where we are now? What do you think?
I think from just the bombshell perspective, it tends to be the cheating story. I think that just reverberated just a ton of impact to the community and to social media in general.
How about
Yeah.
you, Tane?
Yeah. I was waiting for you guys to speak, and then as you spoke, that's how I came to my decision. I think it'll be the David and Madison because of the hurt. At least the group,
Yeah.
majority of them were in on it. So there's nothing to heal from. Y'all decided, and there was that. The hurt was from what the couples did to each other, which is not exactly breaking the rules or anything. It's just the shittiness of human beings playing out. But this hurt people. So I
Yeah.
think the cheating. But my friend also made a good point where, and I think I have to start looking at this through this viewpoint. I'm always like married at first sight Australia. It's not a real marriage. It's fine. I'm like, this is a real marriage. It's this. And my friend is like, Tane, they don't see it as a real marriage. You have to look at it from that point of view. And I, and
And
I,
that goes right back to what you were saying about people that do sign up for these shows.
yeah, yeah. I think earlier we had people who were serious about it, but now I don't think they see it as this is fun. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, but there's not that commitment to it. And that goes for Madison and David. If you think it's not a real marriage and this person is shitty to you from day one, I have nothing to be loyal to or nothing to be committed to, which is why I think I asked someone when Michelle said she was committed to the marriage. I'm like, well, were you? I know you didn't step out, but commitment, there are many levels to commitment. Would we say
Absolutely.
Michelle was committed just because she didn't cheat? She wasn't even in the apartment.
She's really trying to push that narrative, though.
So, yeah, so I think that would be the issue. And I don't know how Peacock plans to solve it. Oh, I didn't ask you guys. How do you feel about it moving to Peacock?
I'm torn. They didn't give any indication that it would still be like as long, right?
I
Yeah, we have
think,
nothing.
yeah, I think there's a lot of things we're not sure of. For example, is it going to be the same experts, new
Yeah,
experts? What age demographic? Are we getting younger experts to kind of have like a different vibe to the show?
yeah,
Uh, are they going to do, we kind of have a script we follow, right? We have these activities, we have couples activities, we have group activities. I'm like, well, are they going to just, rinse and repeat, try to make some money off it? Or are they really going to try to change the formula?
yeah. I'm
I'm
looking
also
forward to that.
torn because is this going to be the end of MAFS? Let's say it moves to Peacock, it loses a lot of people because it's on a specific subscription.
Yeah.
Do they lose a bunch of people and that's it? I mean, I love to say I hate this show, but I'm here. I'm 18 seasons deep, so I would like to see it continue.
Yeah. I mean, it will. I'm excited for it because we have been asking for a refresh. So it'll be interesting to see. They are going to be competing with the other dating shows on streaming networks. So we'll see how much that helps or it doesn't. But back to our problematic people. Says, okay, they going back and forth, back and forth. Madison says, why are you doing this? Michelle says, what did I do? And then says, okay, the communication is not communicating right now. Let's do a reset. But I really wanted to hear, Madison's answer. Like, what did Michelle do to her? Like, why,
Yeah.
why are you coming so hard at her? So Michelle asked, why are you so angry with me? And she said, because you keep trying to make me the bad guy. I'm like, you can do bad all by yourself, Madison. You are making yourself look like the bad guy. But Michelle is like, you are the bad guy.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God. She says she is not the bad guy, that she already apologized and she will apologize. Michelle was like, oh, in a text message. And Madison says, because you clearly knocked on the bathroom door and said, fuck these people. Would that have been a better option? And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And they all seem shocked. But she explains that it was just when she was at the couples retreat house. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I was kind of done with the back and forth because they're not
Yeah.
going to get anywhere. Like David and Madison are over it. They feel like they've apologized enough, and it's either you hate me or not, but stop talking about it. So it's kind of pointless, I think.
Well, here's the thing with their apologies. I just think they haven't been to this point completely upfront with how far they were in their relationship. So nobody is really buying their apologies. Like there's really no, and I know people say they don't need the closure, but even if you don't call it closure, it's almost like you at least want to know what happened.
Yeah, to satisfy the curiosity
Yeah.
and put pieces together.
I
Um,
still want to know about the timeline
Me too. I'm
because
waiting.
I've noticed they've said, "Oh, you've been lying to me for 8 weeks," and I was like, "My intuition does say that honeymoon wasn't super innocent."
Yeah, agreed. And they keep flashing back to it. So there's something there. And I don't know, the preview for the reunion has like, we might as well burn the house down or whatever it
Yeah.
is she said. So hopefully for once they choose honesty. They have nothing to lose now. It's a year later.
Oh
So
yeah, just give me all the info.
yeah. Did you guys catch Madison making like some clicking noise? What
No.
Oh
was that?
no.
She said something and I don't know what it was like. I can't even recreate it because I don't know what it was like and said, okay, why do you care though? And I'm like, does that mean something in Chicago? I don't like, okay, maybe it was just me. But
I felt
David's
like right after that, or it possibly was right after that, is when she started like mimicking Carla when she was walking out, and that was so disrespectful.
That was
yeah,
fucking wild.
yeah. You can make excuses for everything else, but that part was, you know,
Well, it goes
showing
to
the true
show.
character. Hmm.
No, it also goes to show they they were good friends. I mean, they were going out and partying and hanging out at night or whatever.
Hmm.
And I mentioned this with Ellie in a previous episode where I can see why Carla feels so hurt because in my opinion, I think Carla was their camouflage to be able to hang out together. Because if you just say,
Mm,
"Oh, it's gonna be, oh, I'm hanging out with David," that's weird. You guys are just hanging
mhm,
out alone. That's but it's like,
mhm.
"Oh, Carla and I we're gonna go to David to the club or the bar or whatever." It just looks a little less weird because it's a group thing. So I think even Carla herself kind of put the pieces together and was like, "Wow, did they just use me to camouflage their relationship?" And so the fact now that Carla's totally checked out, it is seems ultra disrespectful that Madison is now uh, essentially joking with her.
Yes. And that's actually a good point. And I still feel she knows more because now that she's put the pieces all together, she knows more, but she's not saying anything. And I really hope she lets loose at the reunion and says
Definitely,
anything that she knows.
definitely.
Yeah, so David says that they can have a conversation, but he's leaving and he doesn't like the back and forth over his mistake. And that's again how selfish he is, that it's all about him and it's his mistake. And as they're walking out, Madison makes it a point to say, it is not a mistake. Nothing is a mistake. That is that I,
Sure.
They are
y'all,
full on ride or die. They
They
are going one
are.
direction and nothing is going to stop them.
that was unnecessary. We get it, Bonnie and Clyde. You're together. We're wearing red together. Yay. But
Bonnie
there
and
was
Clyde against nothing.
against nothing.
Great.
Exactly. There was no reason to say that. But here's my thing. If she can do this on camera, all this behavior, what can you do in your real life?
Yes. Like if she
That is
truly had
scary.
someone she didn't like, can you imagine how ugly it would get?
Yes. And David's obsession with trying to get a handshake from Alan, he tries yet again. And
Oh my
Alan's like,
goodness. And like taps
I
him on
love
the
that
shoulder. I was
Alan
like,
is
stop it.
I
he
love
just
that
really,
Alan is just so firm about not getting a handshake. I love it.
that's exactly. Stand on business, Alan. He recoils. He's like, do you, man? Like, don't touch
Yeah.
me.
Another thing we keep calling out is, and this really bugs me because I cannot stand people like this, is David's immaturity. It is insane. And the fact that he really does just run away when he's pressed.
Mm,
And that is just weird to me to be able to walk away so easily from a situation that you caused.
yeah. It is. But I didn't in his mind, he's just like, I've done everything that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing else. And that's when he always says, you can believe me if you want to, if not. But he's also torn because he also wants to be seen as a good guy. I think that's the difference between him and Madison. Madison doesn't give a fuck. David still wants to show like and still believes that he's a good guy who did a bad thing. Well, does he think it's a
Exactly.
bad
He
thing?
wants to be the good guy. He says, I'm a good guy. He talks about how his parents raised him a certain way. He takes it pretty far.
Yeah. So they are walking away, which, oh, by the way, last week I said that Madison's makeup was Halloweeny and very jarring. And I think MAFS fan confirmed that a friend of Madison said they were going to a Halloween party
Oh,
afterwards. So,
okay.
and I was
There you
like,
Got
go.
it.
I feel less mean now, but I was just like, what is this makeup? But
Well,
yeah.
that kind of explains where are my devil horns. I mean, maybe that's what she was going as.
Or Devil Little Red Riding Hood and needs a cape.
Yes.
So yeah. So they were going, and yes, she says, "Where are my devil horns?" And Carla is like, "You just have to be real." And then you hear Madison say it in a mocking voice, "Oh, you just have to be real." And she's like cackling, not laughing. She's cackling at her, but they all hear it. They all make faces, and Michelle says she's so upset and she's gonna start crying. Carla tells her not to, but then we see her in a confessional actually crying and saying that it still seems like the narrative they're pushing is that it's her fault. Now, guys, it's not her. When anybody cheats, it's not the other person's fault.
Right.
But I did say
There's an asterisk
I
there.
I love
go.
where this is going.
Again, not defending Michelle, but kind of like, did she create a hostile? No, I'm not defending cheating, so I shouldn't even say that. But it's just because I don't want anyone to forget what Michelle did.
No, I'm
She
in
was
the
really awful.
exact same boat. Absolutely. I have not forgotten, regardless of what's going on. I still remember. Do you remember? Okay, well, they mentioned on After Party, like, remember how you feel. I remembered
Mm-hmm.
how Michelle made me feel just as the
Mm-hmm.
viewer.
Exactly. So I'm just like, and it kind of answered a question though. So that question Madison kept asking, why do you care? Why do you care? And I remember in the retreat, she kept needling David and saying, so you think it's my fault? So you think that is her only thing. She
Yeah.
doesn't want it to be her fault. If David had apologized saying, I did this of my own accord, it had nothing to do with you, I think she would have been fine. But he kept saying, you didn't ask how my day was. You didn't text me. You didn't check on me. And then Madison says, you didn't even want him in, saying that it was her fault. And
Mhm.
that's her thing. And that's the thing that's
Yeah.
bothering her because of all the things maybe she needs to unpack in her life. It's maybe thinking that she's the reason that she fails in relationships and all that. But that was the thing. And that answered my question with that scene of her crying and saying they're pushing that it's her fault. So.
Great point. Do you feel like there's any jealousy involved? Is she jealous or annoyed that he can pull a standard beautiful woman since she was so repulsed by him?
Absolutely.
That's
Like
right.
one man's trash is another man's steak or something, which is still a mystery to me because okay, whatever. But I do think that. I think she questioned herself a little bit like I just thought everybody in the world would think this man is dirt. How? And she kind of respects
Exactly.
Madison because she said it many episodes ago where she said, "Oh, I don't think Madison would go for him, but he would absolutely go for
Mhm.
her." So for that to happen and then oh wait, they're actually like seem to care about each other and then I'm still single. Listen, even when you have an ex that you don't even want, you want to be the first one to move on. Like you don't you go to a place and you're
Yeah.
like, God damn it, I have to look my best. I have to do this. And you don't even want this man at all. So I can kind of see it, but just do better, Michelle. That's all.
Yes.
Okay, so they go downstairs. Oh, wait. Michelle says that she knows it's not her fault, but it still hurts. I don't necessarily think that she believes that. She's just trying to tell herself that to feel better. So they go downstairs, and David tells her, I know what you're trying to do, but she doesn't have to. He appreciates it. And then they kiss, and I gagged. I didn't
Yes.
know it was the first of many moments in the episode, but
Who knew it would be the most mild, too? There was so much more to come.
yes, Ellie, yes.
I
Like,
mean,
We'll
I'm
get to
kind
it.
of a prude, so it was a lot.
We'll get to it in a bit, but the way they talk about things is almost like they're trying to make us believe it's first. Like, oh, and then you landed a kiss on me. Like is it the first time he's landed a kiss on you? Like, are we really gonna believe that?
yeah. Yeah, you're right because and that's a good segue because last week I'm still like their date is still it really felt like a first date and this kiss was awkward to me. And I'm like, again, I know they have done more. So what is this awkwardness that's going on? And I know people are saying it's because they're trying to make it seem like a first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the awkwardness I'm seeing is because there's a comfortability when, you've been with someone. But of course, it's not they came together. I just,
Yeah.
more has happened, but I don't know how they're able to pull off this awkwardness. But Michelle is like she knows they're not going to last, but it seems like them coming here together is them winning. and it feels like she's the one leaving alone. And Madison does one last mean girl act by saying, as they walk by the boxing ring, "Put me in the ring with Michelle. She won't last 2 seconds, baby."
Gross.
Their joint laughs always get me.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
They just sound like nervous laughs.
Yes, they do. They both have nervous laughters. Okay, guys, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent-free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, and they all mess with our hormones. Then there's the natural hormonal changes our bodies go through. There's perimenopause, there's menopause, it's a lot. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But I have good news for you. We don't have to suffer through any of this anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier. And that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code AltarCallMAFS at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code AltarCallMAFS, that's AltarCallMAFS, for 15% off today. And we are back. And then we start the many, many scenes of David and Madison that we are going to be subjected to this season. And it is at the tattoo shop. They do mention one of their first conversations, and I do remember that episode where David, suggested it to Michelle as a date to cover up the tattoo of the girl he dated for 12 years, and he got a tattoo to prove that he will be faithful. Because that was my understanding. He didn't actually quite say it, but I think he cheated on her, was my take.
Okay, that's what I said too. And on the podcast, I was like, I don't know if I'm believing my own stories at this point or if that was what was insinuated, but I'm going with it.
I'm going with it, which is not a good sign for Madison, because if he has cheated and then he's cheated again with you, and then he goes so extra to get a tattoo to prove I'm going to be faithful, you're an idiot. A tattoo is not going to make you faithful.
No, not at all. If anything, it's just like another trap.
Mm-hmm. When they are walking to the tattoo shop, she does mention that she's violently hungover. This is not the first time she said that many times. And I correct me, guys, wasn't that a thing she had a problem with Alan about drinking, and with her mom, I believe, and that was a thing she didn't care for?
Thank you for bringing this up. No, because I was losing it yesterday. No, she was talking about all of the trauma around her mom's like drinking, and especially when Alan drinks and they get into arguments, and especially when he drove. And so she wanted to put like a limit on how much he drinks and how much they drink together. I don't see Alan multiple times saying that he's violently hungover.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not dismissing what you said, but it's just, if this was just yet another excuse to put down Alan, add that to the list of things that makes Madison really cruel, So Madison says she feels like she's, they were talking about the fight before, that Michelle is playing the victim card and it's not worth her energy. And David says, yeah, you can use all that energy on me.
Gross.
There is a certain level of cringe, and I think I hit the maximum level yesterday. There's just I guess sexual chemistry is just, it seems very like young energy and a little bit corny, and my body just can't accept what I'm watching.
Yes. Very high school. Yes.
Very high school.
That's what it is. Exactly. Yes. And also like shit talking your ex with your current partner while you get a tattoo of like a previous ex is it's just too much.
It's very meta.
It is.
Inception, baby. So I just kept ducking and just bending over. I couldn't look at the screen. I was cringing so hard
All right,
that I
but
was
why was I was feeling it for the tattoo artist. I'm like, they did not
Oh,
start.
yeah.
They did not start their day expecting to be hearing all of this.
She sure did. And this is where we reach what you were talking about, Leon. Like she mentions that, yo, and then you landed that big old kiss on me. I was surprised. And then I forgot about everything else. And I'm like, how do I receive this? Is it the cringe? Is it the lies? Is it the you think we're stupid? Too many emotions to know what to feel about the scene.
They really think we're stupid.
Yeah. And then he asked, what did you think about the kiss? And she's like, I liked it. What is there to like? It was like a peck. It wasn't even like
Yeah.
a real kiss. Like it was.
Well, they're on honeymoon stage. They're feeding off of each other. They're completely in love. Any action they do is going to be, magnified to the nth degree.
I don't know. But after she said that and I like the kiss, then he just awkwardly pats her legs. Like he just did a beat on her legs. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Because I
You're
don't know
so
what to
excited, so much energy. Had to get it out.
Somehow the conversation switches to, oh, guys, I forgot to mention, how could I? David is shirtless this whole time. Like he's
That
just,
he is.
sitting down in all his glory. I'm not going to repeat some of the things people said online because
Oh, that bad?
I'm a child of God, and I'm not.
Oh, it was that bad. Okay,
I-
I was not on it last night, so I missed some gems. Got
Twitter
it.
had a nice time with this scene, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I just, people were like, this is what she left Alan for. This is what I thought she liked the gym. I thought this. I was like, I'm not going to talk about people's bodies. So, whatever, you can look
Right.
online and see it. So, somehow the conversation goes into fetishes, and he's like, oh, he likes having sex in public. And she's like, oh, what's the craziest place you ever had sex? I bet your place is not going to beat mine. And I'm like, how were these two selected? These people are still in party stage. They're still trying to be cool. They're still trying to be. I don't know if you ever read or watched Gone Girl, and there's a definition of the cool girl. And I think one of my guests had mentioned that the cool girl who wants to like hang with the bros, who wants to show like, she's not stressed about anything. And this was to the max. Like, I just don't understand. She is, she just turned 30 and she's just like, having a conversation with someone that you just met, that you're trying to build a romantic relationship, and you're like, well, the craziest place, I bet you can't beat me, because you want to show that
Yeah.
you're so cool and you're so sexually open. And
She's so cool. She's not like other girls.
Here's the thing, though. If you're an expert and these folks are being truthful, you have all the information, like why wouldn't you match them together? Is it just their party lifestyle, or are they lying to experts saying, oh, that was my past, I'm trying to move on and be ready for marriage?
Yeah.
I think they're lying to the experts, because Madison said she did not want a meathead. She, it's never worked out before. She wants something different.
And she went back. And that's true. We find that what MAFS has showed us is that we don't know ourselves as human beings, because what we ask for is usually not, what we eventually tend to like. And also as human beings, we like staying in our comfort zone. So we end up going back to what we want. But if we want to blame the experts always give you someone who is going to be your emotional support therapy dog or something, because they're always saying,
Yes.
this person will help this person do this person will help this person not do this. So they won't put them together. So maybe someone that could change the party ways, and they put her with someone who they thought was not a party person. But to me, the entire cast seemed like party people. They were always out, they were always drinking, no one was an introvert. I thought, well, Ikechi, but he doesn't count.
No, he doesn't count. He was like a half of a cast member. I've seen more of Brandon than I've seen of Akechi, and he was like a real cast member.
That's a wild take.
I mean, that's how much of Brandon we saw that we shouldn't have, but that's okay. But yes, so I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm with you, Ellie. I think a lot of them are not honest, and not because they're trying to lie. It's really how they see themselves, I guess.
Yes,
Right.
and like how they want to view their future in this perfect picturesque image, but I don't think they really think about attraction. Number one,
Yeah.
maybe they think they're not so picky, but then they get someone and they're like, oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, her answer is a Ferris wheel, and then David's like, "Oh, you're free, yada yada." I just want this shit to end. I just zoned out, and then
There's children.
It's too
Stop. I don't
too
want to
much.
know.
It's too much.
it
Okay,
was.
one other thing I do want to mention is that I think it's already wild that they just cheated on their partners, but I've in some ways lost respect for production by the fact that and I think the community feels this as well on social media. It's like they are essentially being highlighted on the show.
Yes, and I think it's for lack of content. Carla is not filming with Juan. She's like, no, thank you, I'm done.
That's
Camille
fair.
and Thomas are together, meaning AKA boring. There's not really much anything. Ikechi and MM are the people. Ikechi is not going to film with MM. And that's why we got a lot of Brandon to fill it up. And then this
Mhm.
is their best bet on what to, to fill it up. And they are also trying to prove that we're together for real and it's not like some kind of trauma bonding.
I think it's also wild that they are so open to have this new relationship documented, considering it really began by really negative circumstances.
Yeah. I maybe their out is that this episode is after decision day.
That's
So
fair. I can
it's
see
free
that.
game. Yeah,
I
so
can
it's
see
free and
that.
all that. Yeah. All the things they couldn't show during the season, they packed it in one episode. So we could see that. Going back to your point of how their relationship is very high schoolish, he's like, "Well, can I get a kiss?" And
Yep. Yep.
and they have an actual proper kiss this time, and he's like, "Oh, I've been waiting for it." And she's like, "Oh, there's more where that came from." And I'm like, "Do you have to have commentary for everything you do? Like, if you're gonna kiss, just kiss." And
Yeah.
You
We
don't
don't
want
need to
the play by
narrate
play?
it.
I don't want it. I don't want the caption. I don't want the
No.
closed caption or nothing. Just go away. So we moved to Juan and Carla. They're moving out the apartment. They just happen to be there at the same time, and they talk about being friends. Like, should they be friends? And Carla's like, "Yeah, I feel like not spending time together is the right thing. I came here for a marriage, not a friendship." And she wants to focus on herself, and he should probably do the same. And I have a question, Leon, for you specifically, guys.
Oh,
Why do guys do shitty stuff sometimes or do anything and then say, but we're just friends. Can I get a hug? What? Why? Why?
okay. Okay. I think this is. I'm going to leave the male energy out of this. I just think that people, even though a relationship ended, they don't want to think that that person is some sort of, someone they can't communicate with. Like, you don't want, basically, you just don't want a relationship to end because it feels bad. It feels bad if you said, communications cut off because this human being meant something to you in some way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it just feels wrong to completely cut off all communication because, like Juan said, as a friend, I love this human being. That this is a great human being. Like, I want to keep talking to them in some way. And he even mentions it doesn't have to be every week. It could be we get together once, every 3 months and just have a coffee. And it's like, how's life? How are you doing? Are you okay? And
Mm-hmm.
like, just as a friendship. And I think I was surprised that because Carla has such a positive energy. I was actually surprised. She said, "I'm not for that."
Mm-hmm. I was very proud of her. I'm a staunch believer in not being friends with your exes. Not, I mean, I do I have my friends in it? We're not friends. We don't talk all the time or anything, but I don't believe in that. But I'm glad that she did that because Carla didn't say much. I'm just giving perspective. I don't know if that's how she feels. But Juan could have hurt Carla a lot. That was rejection. Nobody likes rejection. That was
Yeah.
8 weeks of rejection, of you coming, being hopeful, wanting to be with someone, and him just flat out, I'm not attracted to you. And then towards the end, he said, her lifestyle or her beliefs, that he doesn't believe in
Yeah.
that, not even giving her a hug, from the honeymoon forgetting and saying, David was in a bad place, so he wanted to make him feel happy, but not your wife. It was 8 weeks of constant rejection. Yes, she was smiling and laughing and going along with it, but maybe that was the best way she could cope to get through the 8 weeks. So now she's just like, because the last line she said was, me and Juan could have worked out if he didn't have a checklist. So I do think they've had conversations maybe we're not privy to, but I think she's just like, I'm closing this chapter. This was hurtful for me. I may not be making us think about it like Michelle or MM, but that's my boundary to keep that
I
away from
agree.
me.
I agree with you. Where I think they most likely had a conversation where they knew this wasn't going anywhere, but I've been pretty firm in my opinion. Where I think Carla was very aware that he wasn't into her, and I think in a way she decided to go through the experiment, and she knew they were going to be just it's going to be a friendly thing, nothing serious is going to happen, even though they had those little chemistry scenes where they have to do these sort of spiced up activities. But
Mhm.
I believe in her heart she knew, like, I shouldn't build strong feelings for this man because I know it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was feeding off his energy. So unfortunately, my only thing
Very
about this
fortunate.
too was Juan had a neck pillow the whole time on his neck. And why is a grown man packing his shit in a trash bag?
And also, why is he doing that when he had a problem with the trash bag earlier at the honeymoon?
Oh, that's true. When she was being petty. So that was that. Camille and Thomas, they decided to move into Thomas's place. I'm not knocking Thomas's place, but I felt claustrophobic for them because I'm like, she has a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know where she's going to put all her stuff, but I needed details. And I didn't know she was going to move in like straight from the apartment into his apartment. What is it like? Are they paying two rents? Did she give up her place? Is her lease over? How much space? Can they move to a two-bedroom in the same building? I don't. These are all the
Yeah.
details that I needed
I'm
to know.
surprised that they didn't tell us anything considering they were like laying out all the options and we talked about it multiple times and then we don't even get to find out what actually happened, just that
Yeah.
she's moving in.
There's a
Yeah.
few things we can deduce from what they said. For example, we know they both have leases that are essentially not coming up in the next 2 to 3 months. But
Hmm.
I would assume Thomas's is longer, which is why they decided to choose his place.
So she had a problem paying two rents. So are they just going to pay two anyways? I think that's where I was.
I mean, unless you sublet or something, you're going to be at that point anyways.
Can I just say that even this sublet, the last before when I lived in apartments, they don't let you sublet anymore.
Right, right.
So every time they say that, I'm like, well, where? Like, is that an option for real? But that's why I always think like maybe like a two-bedroom in the same building where you're not quite breaking your lease, but you're moving some. I don't know. But those are what I was thinking. But either way, he said he has a plan, and she said she's happy that he has a plan, and they're just happy as a clam.
Now, I know things are moving very fast, but I kind of Thomas lost me a little bit where
Ooh.
and again, things might be going just so fast there's like just no time to do anything, but I would have assumed he would have prepared the apartment way more than he did because he essentially didn't do anything like at all.
He wanted her to see it, like physically move the suits to the coat closet on there.
He wants the points for doing it.
And let her be a part of the process. I'm not. We're gonna. Oh, that bath mat just. Ugh, that was disgusting.
Oh,
It was
I have
rough.
something. I have something that came up in the live watch where Camille keeps saying that she wants Thomas to take the lead, make
Mhm.
decisions. My opinion is that I don't know if she has that kind of personality. To me, it seems like she's more of a little bit more of a leader. Almost like she's cool with the decision as long as the decision Thomas makes was her decision. Does that make sense?
Yes, because I feel attacked. That is me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I love it.
As you were talking, I'm like, okay, sounds familiar. Huh, okay,
I'm
okay.
not saying that's right, wrong, and different or whatever. I'm just saying for their perspective, from what she's mentioned, I'm like, I don't know if that's really what you want.
No, okay. I'm am I half joking? Yes, I am half joking because I understand what you said. It absolutely makes sense. But I think when I was in the same situation as Camille where growing up, I just kind of took care of everything. So
Mhm.
that's all I know, that's what I'm used to. I don't know if it's my personality or if that's just because that's how I grew up. That's all I've known. So when
Gotcha.
I got older and when I got married, I was just like, I just want someone to take charge so I don't have to think, but it's just a response to how I grew up. But then I also know like when it's something where I'm like, well, I kind of know what I want. And then it's kind of different. So if I'm being honest with myself, so it's like, do I want no, but I think generally she does want to, it's not in her personality, but I think just having the plans is enough. Like for her, the plans that he had for the apartment is not perfect, but just the fact that it shows that you're thinking about it, it may not be the right answer or not. I think she can grow to become and get used to that because it is going to take some time
I
to
think that's
actually
what it
get
is
used to
as
that.
well. Exactly. Because I think she wants someone to just help take that mental load off
Yes.
to where you're just not doing everything mentally yourself. I heard someone recently say it's like when the soap is out in the bathroom. Well, sometimes the one person would be like, okay, I got to put it on the grocery list. I have to go get it. I have to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Versus if someone else did part of that mental load, that's great.
Yeah. And in this case, it was her form of reassurance that they're going to be together long term. Because if you're saying like you have plans, you have this, then it shows me that you're thinking that okay, we are going to be together and I'm not just going day by day and seeing where the wind blows. Like it just shows commitment to her of what it is. Okay, so Michelle and Carla go out for the night. They talk about how they've always gravitated towards each other. Could we tell this by watching?
No,
No, I don't feel
no,
like these
no.
energies aren't really matching.
Okay, I thought it was just me, and I was like, well, if you have to tell us, well, maybe
Here's
it's
my
not.
thought. Here's my
Okay.
thought. David, Madison, and Carla, and sometimes Alan would go out, whatever, club, bar, whatever it was. But if Michelle and Carla got so close, like it seemed like Michelle was never there with them.
Yeah, she didn't want to be around David.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't know
Uh,
when they would have gotten so close. I mean, I know we saw, for example, Carla leading the various classes and whatnot, but I can't imagine them hanging out prior.
and when the bachelorette party at the bowling alley, wasn't Carla the one that was all being all open and Michelle was all like I'm reserved and all that stuff?
Yes,
So where
exactly.
did they gravitate? The only time I can say they gravitated was after the scandal and everything came out and Carla is the one who's standing out and speaking out loud on the whole thing. But if anything else, I thought it was Michelle and MM that were gravitating towards each other, but what do
Yeah,
I know?
same. Also, do you feel like production or Carla gave Michelle a little nudge to get into the right direction of this story or of the affair, excuse me?
Yeah, I think production kind of had a clue or a hint because it came from nowhere. I think I'm not going to dismiss Michelle's intuition. I think she had an intuition, but I don't think the Madison clicked until something must have nudged her towards the Madison because he really came out of thin air.
Yeah, because her saying, well, she's blonde, like that wouldn't be enough for me.
Yeah. And for someone within the group, like, you know how when you're not even thinking about something, like it's not to you, you don't think it's within the realm of possibility. So you don't even think about that. But to just come from nowhere and say, oh, the M, and it was her, it was very random
Yeah.
to do that. Michelle says that, Madison is not showing any empathy or remorse. And Michelle asks if Carla is upset about Juan. And she's like, she's more optimistic and her experience went well. Michelle says she wants to start dating again. And Carla is like, listen, my marriage was never consummated. So it's like I didn't get married. This waiter is passing by just trying to refill waters and stuff. And Carla screams at him, my marriage was never consummated. He goes, he wasn't.
Yeah,
He's like, okay.
this was an episode of very awkward moments to third parties. We have the
Yeah.
tattoo artist, and now we have the waiter.
People are just trying to work.
I know. I was wondering why they chose that bar because it was
It was
packed.
packed,
It was
packed.
loud. Also, um, I'm mentioning Thomas and Camille's move in only because his door seemed like a hotel door because it had like that exit plan thing on. Did you guys see that
I didn't.
on the door? I watched too closely on these things, and
I
I was
mean,
like,
Hey,
maybe
that's good though.
maybe this is a modern apartment and we're just living in the ghetto.
maybe it is. But they do take selfies and it's very cute. And Camille says it feels good and she knows that her heart is in good hands. I just thought that was so nice. So,
It
That
was
is
very
so
sweet.
sweet.
and then Madison meets her dad and she tells her dad everything that went on. Apparently, he didn't know. Madison says, actually, I should say, Madison claims that she feels shame and guilt about how it went up. And her dad stops her and was like, Madison, stop. You're beating yourself up and it's not all you. He says, "Do you
Mm.
regret having feelings?" She was like, "No, but I feel bad for Alan."
Man, and if she does feel bad, you cannot tell by her actions.
You cannot. And then her dad says, "Where's all this David talk coming from? We've never heard about him." And she says they connected immediately, guys. Note,
Yep. Yep.
immediately from the
Yes.
honeymoon. And she says part of her is scared if the feelings are real or if she's running away from not having feelings for Alan or something like that. And her dad basically says, you did this show to meet someone. It's not conventional, but you did meet someone, so you've achieved your goal. And I'm like, Daddy,
Nah,
no,
nah.
I know.
Papa Madison is nah.
no, this is
That's
not
that's
it.
that's not the move.
It's not the
Mm-mm,
take, not a good look.
mm-mm. But we can tell because her friend, remember? Her friend also was like, "Oh, he's a psycho. He's overreacting. You
Oh,
didn't
I
do this."
know.
And now daddy's like, "It's okay. It's fine."
She is not telling anyone the truth.
I think she is, and that's just they're just like it's fine, and that's why she's
Uh,
the way she is.
I
We
guess.
always
And I guess if you surround yourself with people that are just gonna let you be you, there you go.
we always mention that when you hear a story, you're really hearing just one side. And
Mhm.
that's probably a little bit of the truth, but maybe a little bit not. But when we saw this sit down with Madison's dad, it seemed like for the most part, she was giving him all the details. Like, I don't,
Yeah,
besides just being straight up like, hey, 4 weeks in, like we were super into each other, I knew it was going to be, over in these other relationships. Like, besides mentioning that part, it seems like she was pretty straightforward.
yeah, I think so too. I do want to give another perspective though, because I talk about this with my friend, and she's like, "Listen, if my friend did something shitty like that on camera, I'm not gonna berate her on camera. Like if I'm a loved one,
Fair.
I'm
That's a
not gonna say
great
that.
point.
I'm just gonna be, kind. Like there's nothing that hasn't been said. Everybody else is gonna be judging her, so I'm just gonna do that." And I see that, but I feel like there's a way, kind of like how Juan talked to David on camera. I feel like I'll slip a line in at least of what you did wasn't exactly the best. We can talk about that later, but and then XYZ. I think in this case, it's kind of like besides just being supportive, they're kind of insinuating it's fine. Everybody will be okay. You did what you had to do. I think that's my issue
I
with
agree.
it.
Same.
I think we don't have kids, but if I was a father and my kid did this to someone, I think I would be pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, obviously she's an adult, and things might change, but I don't know. I feel like I would still feel some type of way about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I was fully expecting him to be all like, "Oh, Madison, we didn't raise you this way, but things
There it
happen."
is.
But
There it
he
is.
he did not do any of that. Okay, so then we have MM telling us that she's going on a date. I'm like, "Er?" And she's is a first date allegedly. I'm like, if it's being filmed, this is not the first time you're going on a date. But also, guys, this is what 3 days or whatever after decision day. All these people are ready to. I don't know about you. I did not enjoy dating. It was not fun to meet people, to tell them about your life, and then you shared something, and then you're done. Then you start all over again and repeat it. But you just went through this whole 2 month process. Where's the decompressing?
Yeah, like shouldn't you do a little Netflix and chill for a week, binge some bad food, and just veg out for a little bit?
If I were production, I would change the timeline. This is where I would take my creative license and be
Ah,
like,
I see.
I would be like 2 months later because this is ridiculous. 3 days after decision day, like
That's crazy. That's so fast.
I don't know.
I have concerns.
Oh, don't we all?
I
She's
know the term. I know the term is overplayed, but there are some red flags.
They're red, amber alert, orange, all of it mixed together on stacked on top of each other. She says she met him in fifth or sixth grade, which means nothing. How old are you? Like 10? What? And they
Yeah.
reconnected via social media. The silent question is, when did you reconnect, MM?
I think when the show started.
I came into this saying, how am I going to support MM, but also try and hold her feet to the fire
I know,
because
because that's my girl. I'll support her in anything. Her and
this
Camille. Yeah.
this is very sketchy. Because my thought is maybe they reconnected via social media. Then she was told she was matched, but she's like, I'm giving my all to this wedding, to this marriage. So I'm not, she's one of the few people who took this marriage very seriously. And then she kind of put him on ice. And then that was it. And then as things started to go down, she's just like, listen, I'm not going to block my blessings and someone's right here. We're pretty much DOA. And then they started talking.
I
And
could see
then
that happening. I could
this
see it being
happened.
like that. Yeah. Or I'm going to tell myself that.
Yeah, they go on their date. Oh, he's like, oh, what's going on? And he's like, he's going through a divorce and he's on his sister's couch. He says that, and then she goes, what happened? He says his first wife, they got married at 29 when she was 29, and then they were together for 10 years. And then he says, I was going in the wrong direction for 10 years. I spent the 10 years going in the wrong directions. And I'm like, oh my God, this is EKG 2.0. We
It
cannot speak in
is.
regular English. We are going to speak like we are reciting spoken word and
Mm-hmm.
make this sound deep, even though it's really nothing. And I'm like, oh no. Red flag number one.
Also, don't say it's like the wrong direction for 10 years when that direction gave you two beautiful children. Don't say that.
And he said I was going, meaning like, oh, so maybe she was happy. So you're insinuating that you knew or you
Yeah,
found out many years. Don't even say it on camera, even though that's what you think. Like that's just disrespectful
I
to his
agree. And 10
ex-wife.
years is a long time.
It is. It is a long time. She goes, it's the same thing for her. Then he was like, what's your situation? I was like, what do you think the cameras and the thing you signed was for, sir? Because they have to sign a release form anyways. And she says like, oh, we were together for like 2 weeks. He's like, oh, really? How long did you date before then? I'm like, oh my God, make it stop. But we find out that he's a firefighter, he's a volunteer coach, and the date went so well for a first date that he wants another one. Thoughts? Concerns, guys?
Many,
A
many
lot.
concerns.
There's so many things. Let's see. Oh, I caught that. So they were together for 6 months, then got married. They were married for 10 years. They have an 11-year-old. So I'm guessing there was a child involved in the marriage, like
Mhm.
at marriage time.
Yeah, maybe they had it before they got married. Oh, maybe that's why they got married. Well, wait,
Right.
am I good at math?
No, I mean that checks out. That checks
Okay,
out.
okay.
Then I mean there's that's one. I think there's the obvious one of, well, dude, you're still married. I mean, I know I'm still married, but I'm also a part of this experiment. So, like, I know that's going to be fleshed out, but yours is 10 years and it's probably going to be way more involved than what I'm going through.
And if you got married at 6 months and he said, oh, I didn't get to know her, so you're allegedly going to do the same thing again and get married to someone after, what is
Yep.
it, 2 weeks, 10 days? And then
Yep.
now what are you going to tell her? You went 15 years in the wrong direction again? You just
Yeah,
get a compass
exactly.
or Google Maps because this is kind of crazy.
I really want to know where in his divorce he's at. Was it a few weeks ago, a few months ago? Where are we in the divorce process? How long have they been separated? Because he is on his sister's couch every night That's
Hmm.
concerning.
So
Yep.
I'm thinking, is this dude trying to find a wife or a place to live?
I mean, MM's apartment, it does things to men. It either makes you want to have a place to stay or gets you intimidated. So he's like, I could do this. I can live
Oh,
here.
yeah. Beautiful location. Yeah.
I just want MM to protect herself. If we can get a prenup going, that would be great. Just protect
I would
yourself.
be much more on board if she did a prenup.
MM seems like a no prenup kind of gal. She
She
seems like
absolutely does.
we love each other. We know what we want. We believe in the love that we have. We don't need no prenup because this is going to last.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Alan and Juan, they have this weird conversation. Alan says he's been on a couple of dates. He's been exploring some of the urges he's been having. I'm like, well, at first I'm like you were horny and you wanted to have sex. What do you mean exploring
It
urges?
did seem like it. Getting back out in the streets.
But he says he's on dating sites and some of these girls are DTF and then they send these acronyms. So he Googles the acronym. This is so funny.
Like an old
And
skull.
I know. And he's like, oh, I can do that. I can try this. And Juan is like, oh, it took Juan a long time to realize, oh, you mean sexual things. And then they're like, yes, that's what it is. And Juan is like, do you think you're trying to separate yourself from, your nice guy personality? And he says, nah, that he's just, trying to explore. And then we get David and Madison again. Trigger alert. There's an ice cream date, lots of sexual talk, guys. It was a lot. They kept doing sexual innuendos. And
I'm
David's
amazed. I'm amazed of just how freely they communicate like this.
Okay. So when Nicole was on the show, she said sometimes you have producers on the side that have prompting things or whatever to tell you what to talk about or anything. I don't think I'm amazed at how freely. It's just why they thought it was necessary because they could tell us they had sex or anything, but the fact that David wanted to let us know that they had sex this morning is very is specific the word and very like was this told to the producer and the producer said this is what you guys are going to talk about so that people know so we know the progression of their relationship. And again, we still assume they're lying, so it's all very a lot.
It is a lot. And I almost feel like this isn't even a production thing, that David is just like, yeah, I need to let the world know.
True. I don't.
A real petty point here.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring it up anyway. They both ate ice cream so weird.
Because they were trying to be sexual. And
Is
they
that
thought
what
it
it
was
was?
sex. Yeah, they were licking the spoon because that's what she did the first time. And he was like, oh, I just have thoughts. And she's like, oh, what thoughts? And he's like, oh, the dessert I had this morning. And I'm like,
Thank you.
yes. We're not like in high school. I think that's the thing. Who wants to brag at the fact that, oh, you had sex? Okay. And everybody does.
That's what it is. It's like, who brags about that? Like, Madison's turning 30 in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
David's been in his 30s. Come on.
Well, they keep adding. I think they talked about the kiss again, like, oh, it came out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay. But I really threw up in my mouth when David said, they were talking about this morning and it was so good and there are no improvements there. And David was like, it fit like a glove.
Oh, did I miss that? Oh, gross.
You probably just blocked it out from your mind,
It
Ellie.
was just like, I'm done with this whole thing. Like, get me out of here.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by they were very detailed and specific about it. So Madison said she thinks that taking that next step made a stronger connection with them. Her casual hookups in the past haven't meant as much, so she feels closer to him and her feelings are more solidified. So then he asked, go ahead, Leon.
But again, mentioning taking that next step, again, making it at least telling us that this is like the first time this has happened.
Yeah, playing that role.
Yeah, they're emphasizing that. So we know that. So, yeah, he says So what are we doing? Like, what are our boundaries? I don't want to trigger you because I know in your past, like, men have not said, are we seeing other people? Are we doing things? And she's like, I appreciate that, trying to make him seem like he's so thoughtful. And she just doesn't want the nagging. Like, just have a conversation if something happens. So we don't, like, when you don't talk about it, that's when the mistrust happens. And I'm like, the irony.
Don't
Not
ask me where I am at 3:45 in the morning. I'll
not
be
them
home
talking
when I'm
about
home.
not them talking about being exclusive as they both just cheated on their partners.
Yes. Oh, what are our boundaries? Really?
And they were taking it slow. So,
Yeah.
she asked him, on your end, what would you like? But because he's a 14-year-old boy, he's like, just keep doing that in the morning. And
Gross. Terrible.
they kiss again. I'm like, thanks. Um, Carla, and Camille are in her apartment. I really forgot how great the views are from MM's apartment because, wow.
Yeah,
And
it's
Camille,
beautiful.
yeah. And Camille says that married life is great. Carla says she's good. MM says she feels free and she went on a date, said all these nice things about him. He's tall, he's fine, he's a firefighter, and he's actually coming by tonight. I'm like, okay, Brandon again. Brandon, his doorbell at the door, and she goes in and he's like, hey, baby. I'm like, after one date? Okay. And we just need to figure out this timeline because this is another thing that's a lie. And it'll be kind of hypocritical of us. We're giving David and Madison all this shit, and we're just, maybe we should just let MM slide. She's been through a lot.
She has.
So, but either way, we can all agree that they didn't just meet, and this is not after one date. So, MM says they went to a single date, so they will take their time. He immediately tells them that the last 2 years were so dark and as dark as it could get, and now there's light. I'm like, again, after one date, and he says he has to take her out to dinner, and they're leaving. She leaves them there to lock up, and then Carla and Camille start talking. Carla is like,
I loved it.
he needs to have more light at the end of the tunnel more than MM. Like, there's nothing else that gives him light. I don't like that.
Well, we
And
just mentioned the fact that he has two kids. I mean, like, I hope your kids bring you
Yeah,
some
can they
light.
be a source of light?
this is, and she's absolutely right. Like, the same way I'm giving David shit about your whole personality cannot be dating Madison, your whole personality cannot be MM, especially allegedly after one date. It's like love bombing to an extent.
It is. It really is. And I don't like that he always has the perfect thing to say. He, like what you said, very much like Ike, you have these pre-planned, almost poetic things to say.
Yeah.
You are so good at making everyone think you're such a good guy.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't like it.
I honestly don't even think they're the perfect answers because they come off as disingenuous to me. Like you're
Yes,
trying too hard.
Ellie,
exactly.
okay, Ellie mentioned this on our live watch that he was giving a little bit of scammer vibes.
A little bit of con
And
man
this
vibes.
is due
I'm
to
just
this is due
saying.
to everyone for the most, well, maybe not the gals, but it seems like everyone's for the most part giving the thumbs up. And then Ellie was like, well, that's right. That's what scammers do.
They get ya.
And I was like,
But
that's a fair point.
I don't think you mean the girls in the group, right?
Correct.
I don't. I actually don't think so. They just don't want to be dicks.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
They
don't think.
want to root for her.
Yes, they just want to, and then she has, social equity. They're not going to be mean to MM. It's MM. We're going to trust her judgment, but I really don't think that they're down for it at that moment because again, if a year later they're still together and all that stuff, that gives it a little bit more validity. But
Mhm.
as of that time, I think, yeah, they're thinking it's too fast. So MM's cousin Rafiu, if you recall, who hates Ikechi's guts with every fiber of his being, is meeting up with her. And I can't tell the weather. MM is in a tank top, but Madison is in a turtleneck. Like, what is the weather in Chicago right now?
Okay, the weather was weird. The scene was weird. Apparently, Brandon's joining us, but he already had his plate made, so obviously he was going to come join us.
Oh my God, you noticed too. That's what
Yeah.
I said. I'm like, so she must have ordered. So why was Rafiu like surprised that he was joining because it was already there. And I called it the rollouts, the PR rollout of Brandon, because he was just popping up everywhere,
It
allegedly
really is
uninvited.
a roll up. Yeah.
um, but he said he got a call from Brandon, and I'm like, for what? Again, after one date, I'm rolling with that story, but after one date, just for people to see how weird it is and to see that you're lying. So just go with the true story. So Rafiu says he's known him for over 20 years. He rocks with him, but then he was married for 10 years and he's already back dating. And he wishes he could ask him questions. And that's when MM says, great, he's joining us. So he comes in and Rafiu asks him about the dating, and then he says that thing you just mentioned, Ellie. I don't want a million girls. I just want one girl a million ways. I'm like, ugh, gross.
It is
But
gross.
that is the kind of thing that kind of works for MM though, because when Ikechi did those things at the wedding, she was all bars. No, for the wedding gift. He wrote a poem or something for her and she really liked it and appreciated it. And I'm just there like, what? That wasn't
She
so great.
loves that type of stuff.
Yeah. So Rafi was like, yeah, that sounds like the perfect line, but what is the balance? Like, you have two kids. Do you want to have more kids? And he's like, he's open to more kids. And then MM is like, yeah, I'm open as well. And I'm like, "Ugh, have you guys even talked about this? Because it doesn't sound like you have. And he says, love doesn't have an answer, it's a feeling.
So you're. It sounds like you're over the Brandon statements.
I'm very over it, but I also don't even think that I don't agree with, I don't think love is a feeling. It's a feeling. We're all headed for disaster because one day you hate somebody, the next day you love them. Like, you're an adult. Stop reading Charlotte or Emily Bronte, whoever. Like,
Yeah, get off
actually,
these Facebook memes or these Facebook quote
yes.
pages.
Yeah, it's not the perfect answer. So Rafi says, like, okay, it feels like you're trying to win me over with words. I already went through that with Bubba Smith. That was funny. They all like
Yeah.
cracked up. But I don't know why he called him Bubba Smith. The Bubba Smith I know is an actor. I think he was in Police Academy or something. So I didn't get the correlation, but it was still funny though, the way he said it. And he's like, well, you have baggage, like, but I give you my blessing and I wish you the best. And then he tells MM, and I hope this lasts because MM, I'm not trying to do this every 2 months.
As any good cousin would.
Yeah. So MM claims that if she hadn't done the MAFS experience, that she wouldn't have moved that fast. And then they're interviewing Brandon and they're like, okay, so what's next for you? And then MM walks in. He tells her he wants to tell her something. And this man gets on one knee and proposes without a ring.
No.
No.
Unacceptable.
No, we don't
Unacceptable.
accept this. Take it back. No.
I have no words because at that moment, I'm like, this is giving clout chaser. Like, what? Ew.
I hated every second of this. I don't like that he didn't plan anything for her. One, I understand you're swept up in the moment, but it's not like the moment was super romantic or anything. There's a bunch of production around and cameras, which is a huge red flag for me because you didn't plan anything. You don't have a ring. You're just doing this because you're on camera and there's all these people around.
Exactly. And also 10 years that you said was the wrong direction. Why are you rushing? Why not even wait till your divorce is over? You will be together.
If that was truly the reason, just wrong direction, grew apart, whatever it was, he clearly didn't learn anything from it.
He did not. The producer asked her, are you scared? And she goes, nope, I'm not scared. And I'm like, okay.
I think MM has the love blinders on. I think here's the thing though. I am not defending Ike in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's making one of his statements that it's bringing that to light as the truth, where he mentioned that he sees himself as just an accessory to her.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, I'm doing the shrug guy meme. I'm like, hey, kind of true.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this since I watched the episode when he said she was a plug and play. He was a plug and play. And I'm like, well, that is true. I will admit, in the first episode, I was like, oh, it could have been anybody, and she would have been grateful or happy to have that person. But isn't that the whole thing about maths? You're
Yes,
just
you have to be
open
plug and play.
to whoever
Yeah,
comes in
true.
for that. But I don't know if I'm because at the same time, personal on a personal level, I don't believe there's a timeline. To get to know people, you can date someone for 10 years. Who has done this? Let's go celebrities. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. They were dating for forever. They had kids. They got married and were divorced in like a year or two.
Yeah.
Oh, even more personal. I think Ellie and I were almost dating for 10 years before we got married.
I think we did 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, did you guys start dating young?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
High
super
Yeah.
school.
young.
Yeah.
Super young.
So exactly. So they're all this, and I don't think like you can meet like on the same day. I mean, this is not a good example, but this is who popped. I was like Danny Bonaducci. They're divorced now, but they were married for like a long time.
Yeah, we have friends that met, and 2 weeks later they went and eloped. And now they
Yeah.
have 3 kids and they're living their best life.
Yeah,
No,
I didn't date my husband for a long time, but
no, I agree. I agree as well. It's just that in those storylines, we are both, for the most part, well, except for maybe Brad and Angelina, but you're not freshly coming off of a divorce or currently married, still not divorced.
yeah. And that concern for me is more on Brandon's end because going back to what my friend advised me to do, like maybe they don't see it as real marriages, and Ikechi and MM checked out pretty early, to be
Oh
honest,
yeah.
right after the
True.
honeymoon.
True.
So there's been time to grieve someone that you've only known for 2 weeks. But Brandon, my man, you got kids, you got a 10-year marriage,
My
you got
man
an
don't got a
ex-wife.
bed.
Exactly. You can't even afford a one studio, like a studio or something. Like figure that out before you get into a relationship. Like
I was talking to
what?
Ellie about this. If for whatever reason, some universe, I was divorced, you best believe I will find a place to live.
Yeah,
Days. It won't even be a week. I am going to find a place to live.
exactly. I love my own space so much that
Oh
it
yeah.
will even give you some kind of zen with all the craziness. Oh, but you know what I just thought about? He said the last 2 years have been dark. Has he been separated for 2 years? Which is
Oh.
worse because that means for 2 years you couldn't find a place.
Well, and also for 2 years, you couldn't find out your divorce.
Oh my god, this is not good.
I mean, any way you play this storyline,
Worse.
it's just getting a little worse. It's not getting better.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my god, please, please, please let his ex-wife not come out and say anything bad about MM because I am just deep down just like if she comes out and she's like, "Well, we were still together to my knowledge, then I saw they were exchanging
Oh
notes on
no.
DM, and then he just told me he's leaving, and then I saw he was engaged." Oh my god.
Thank you for bringing this up, Tane. Now, one thing I have to mention is that once again, we hear one side of a story. I know we're
Yeah.
not going to cover it. Their storyline is done, but for her own sake, I really hope, and I think it might be just a creepy thing to do. I really hope MM gets to, in some ways, interact with his ex-wife because you might have known Brandon in elementary school, but you don't know Brandon married for 10 years, Brandon.
Exactly.
Is he a good dad? Was he a good husband and they just sort of grew apart just from getting older and life?
Did he
Was he a bad
cheat?
did he cheat? Was he a bad husband? Like you have the possibility to get that type of information, and I do wonder how many how often that actually ever happens in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even though I'm saying like I don't think there's a timeline, I do think this is different. There's a timeline that is necessary because kids are involved. I just think when kids are involved, they should be placed first.
Hmm.
They should be understood. Like if you don't have a place to stay, when you hang out with your kids, where are they going? Where are they sleeping? If there's no place for them to sleep, does that mean your kids don't sleep over with you? So you're making your ex-wife the primary caregiver? And if she is, what are you doing to help?
Yeah.
Let's take it a step further. If there happens to be a custody battle, bro, you don't even have a home. Like
Yeah,
that you're not putting yourself in a good position to obviously get time with your children.
at all. And hasn't met the kids. You don't know what the dynamics are. Is that something you can handle? Do you know the temperament of the ex? What like that's where I feel like that's where you need time to kind of know these things. And again, it's not like not being engaged doesn't mean that you're not together. So like I think Michelle says that later or somebody, what is the rush? That's what I don't understand. And that's what gives Ikechi some validity is is it just wanting to be married that is the issue? But who knows?
I know you guys can't see it, but I've just been shaking my head this entire time because I'm just spiraling more about how uncomfortable and scared I am for her.
I mean,
Again,
just look at how we've broken this down. Just the longer and longer you break it down, it just, I mean, it really just gets
just
not worse, but it gets more complicated. There's so many angles.
yeah. The only thing giving me comfort is just I think they're still together, but you could be together and not happy. I mean, 10 years, wrong direction. So who knows?
Yep.
I'm hoping she's happy. That's, all I can hope for. Um, it's Madison's birthday. Yay. She's 30 and David has reservations for dinner. And I just wanted to point out that David wore a polo shirt. He did not wear a nice jacket. Michelle would have ripped him a brand new one, but it works for Madison, I guess, because she said nothing about it.
I missed social media this night and I feel so bad because I can't imagine how folks are going in on David. Like jokes about he did this for a free meal. Did he even pay for the hotel? I mean, the hotel itself was basic as shit. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, he can afford it. That's
Ellie took
terrible.
it a step further by saying there is no way in hell he did any of this.
Oh, no. This is a production assistant, someone. He did not do this.
He did bring her an espresso martini with the thing that says, "You look so good, I just want to eat you up." I'm like, too soon, guys.
So
Damn.
corny.
Damn. But yeah, she said she'll put in the right care for the right person. She knew Alan wasn't the person and she wouldn't take anything back except the way it transpired. And David tells us that he can see himself proposing to her. Then and Brandon go engagement ring shopping. And I said, this man doesn't have a place to stay, but can afford an engagement ring. What are the odds that paid for this, guys?
Okay, I said the same
70,
thing.
30, 70, 30, 80, 20.
As Leon said, there is no way you play this story out that it works out right. Because if you get an engagement ring and you don't have a home and have a place where your kids can say, I have a room in daddy's house, this is just priorities gone wrong.
Yep.
And a 4 carat is not cheap.
Yeah. My best friend just got engaged recently, so I am very fresh on the prices, and it definitely is not cheap.
No.
I love you after 2 weeks allegedly is wild work. They pick a ring, and this man and this clout chaser gets down on one knee again.
Before it's even
Not calling him a
purchased.
clout
This isn't even her
chaser.
ring.
I'm sorry. Who wants to propose 3 times on camera? Like, what are you
And only
doing?
once with a ring. Stop.
He got a lot of camera time. He might have been on camera more than the KG. So,
I really think so.
in one episode. And then the only other thing was like she had something on her face, and I'm like, oh, I wish a producer or someone must have flicked it off of her. And she's in like a tracksuit or something. If you know she's not want to get. You have put her in a situation where she's not decked to the nines like she usually is for her proposal. The first
Multiple times.
yes, he's gonna do it again at the reunion. So she's dressed up then, and she's tearing up. She says she feels loved. It's everything she wanted and all that. My other fear for is she's doing that thing where, let's say you were dating someone or you got married to someone, and the one thing they didn't do right was maybe give you attention. And then you leave and then you date someone who does give you that attention, but then they have another fault that you're not paying attention to. So right now you feel loved. He's giving you attention. He's doing all the things Akechi didn't do. So it's almost like you're focusing on one single thing that he's giving you. And like you said, Ellie, the love blinders are on that you're not looking at all the other things that you should be. Um, David and Madison go to the hotel room full of balloons, and they just make it about sex again. And he says David is a one of a kind gem of a man. I
I
thought that
That
was the
just
hotel
fun.
room
it's too
definitely doesn't
much.
have a tub. I'm just saying. That's the
Oh
type it
my
is.
god. Is
Standing
that your
there.
Like,
is
how you
that
look
your
at that?
level
I'm not saying
of
anything.
quality?
Hey, it is what it is.
Oh, she feels like she won the lottery with David. And then David was like, long winded speech. I just got to tell you, put it on the table. So I have to tell you that I love you. And she's like, come here. I love you too. I'm like, these people have a lot of feelings and a lot of things
There
in them
is a lot of
because
feelings.
that's crazy. The group meets up for Thomas's birthday, and Michelle is not excited to be there. She walks in, sees them, rolls her eyes. Michelle says, I'm sorry, Madison says that she reached out to Alan to meet up, and he respectfully declined. And I'm like, I love me a stand on business guy. Like, stay consistent. Um, Madison says this, Michelle says there's nothing else to be said. Walks in with Brandon. Do you guys think it's too soon to introduce Brandon to the group? Like, why did she bring him?
I do think it's too soon. And top it off that they were like making out a lot of the time and they were like huddled up in the back. Too
Oh my
much,
God.
too soon.
It was like tonguing down. Like,
It
Yeah,
almost
not
seemed
a little bit.
like an awkward scene that would be in like a rom com or something. Like everyone's trying to
mhm.
be serious, and it's just this random couple in the background making out.
So when she walks in with Brandon, David's face cracked me the hell up. He was so confused. He's like, wait, what? Like, what? Who's this guy? And Camille is like, I am shooketh. I don't know what's happening. David is like, what the fuck? But she looks happy. I'm happy for her because David is like, I think he realized, like, you can't say anything. You can't get judged. You can't judge any situation because you're right there. Um, he does say that he wants to be married to Madison one day. And I'm like, how are you going to get married soon? You're not divorced yet. Like, that takes a while. And they ask her, she goes around, tells everybody that she's engaged. And then I think Camille or somebody said, have you told your mom? And she's like, nope, she hasn't told her
Mm,
mom. And I'm
Red
like,
flag.
that's
yes.
terrible.
That doesn't tell you that the energies are off. You'd think you would tell your parents like immediately.
Maybe it's a good thing. Don't give this woman a heart attack. You already told her you were marrying a stranger. Then you have to tell her that didn't work out. Then you have to tell her you're engaged after one date.
Let mom chill a little bit. Like, give her some transition time.
Stay in the dark and all
Yeah.
of that. So Michelle says like she'll be lying if she didn't have any concerns that this is moving too fast and what is the rush. And Camille says giving a toast and saying something nice. And I'm mentioning this because while she's talking in the background, Thomas is just focused on his wings and just destroying those wings and licking his hand.
I told Ellie,
He
I'm like,
was.
bro is still eating. Like, put your food down.
um, Alan tells and Brandon, because they say congratulations to them also, that they have their support. They're only a text away. And Madison says that she doesn't feel that she and David are getting the support like and Brandon are.
Yeah, no
And
shit. Like, come on.
delusional. But I think I know what she's saying, and it's what we've been saying is like the timeline is not timelining. Something is happening here, and there might have been a crossover, but we don't have any proof, so we can't compare it. So that's how I took what she's trying to say without actually saying it in terms of the support.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of it that way. Definitely could be. And now I didn't even think about that at all. So now I'm super curious and I hope we get some of that next week.
I don't know. I think she's just going to stick to it because for her, the good part is the season is over. It's not a cast member. All she has to stick to is we connected. And all it took is one date. And if you know, you know. That's going to
That's
save
true.
her.
You really don't have to explain it. It's not David and Madison situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but going back to David and Madison about support, I just think how many people are just jumping in line to support folks that cheated on their partners.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I think she thinks that's further proof that she doesn't think what they did was so bad.
Oh, she's just like, we're all friends, right?
um, Madison starts talking about her relationship with David, and Alan is like, anyone want shots? And David says that he has to go to work, and someone who I didn't see who said that was like, see you losers. And
I'm
I'm
pretty sure that was
Oh,
Michelle.
that was Michelle for sure.
I was like,
okay,
wow,
she's
you
still
really had
mad.
to take it there again. That's fine. You do you, I guess.
Okay, was I the only one that caught this? Was she said that, but then Camille was holding up the L?
Oh, I didn't see that.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
replay that because I am pretty sure she's holding up the L.
sides
Oh.
are chosen and I support it.
Oh my God, this episode was chaotic. So
Yeah.
David asked Michelle for a conversation and she's like, I'm good. He's like, well, I just want to apologize again and I'm sorry. She goes, thanks. Carla asks, why didn't you want to talk to him? She's like, I don't need any closure. It's all done. Camille tells Thomas, I can't take any more bombshells. Like, this is too much. And as usual, Ikechi rolls in late. And as soon as he
Why?
walks in, Juan
Why?
takes a deep breath. He's like, whew.
Even the way the editing, it's almost like he's always perfectly late.
Yep.
Like at the exact moment where the cringe level would be at its highest.
Mm-hmm.
They tell him like a half hour after everyone else just so they can get these perfect scenes.
No, he does that. They tell him the time and he's like, all right, I will just come in 30 minutes after and leave 45 minutes earlier. So
Needs the attention, all eyes on him, so nothing has changed.
Ikechi's the epitome of I'm just here not to get fined. So
Yes.
Yep.
as soon as he walks in, again, this clout chaser I shouldn't talk about this woman's man like that, but he just gets up and goes to introduce himself. He's doing too much.
It is too much because it wasn't something like was introducing him. It was just, oh, I got to let it be known.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Ike's response was actually perfect, or his reaction, because in theory, he's like, oh, hey, like, I don't know you. Are you production? Are you security? Like,
Yeah.
why are you randomly coming up and saying hi to me?
I wonder what his thought process was because he could have just waited for to introduce him, or they don't even have to introduce themselves at all. And I'll tell you why I call him a cloud chaser. That was not enough for him. He got up and says, I don't think you understand. I'm MM's fiance. Like, okay. And
Yeah, what do you want?
I agree with you. There is no world in which you two have to ever meet or ever talk to each other.
no, end of the season. It's done. And Ikechi doesn't care. I don't think he understood or got the gravity of that. And he's like, congratulations. Like, that's it. And
Yeah.
then he's like, he's leaving. Why did you show up? He says he's going on a date. I don't know if that's true.
I don't buy that at all. He's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
engaged? Well, I have a date.
Yeah. He's like, it's open season. I was like, Ikechi, you
Ew.
do not have the emotional depth to even.
No.
So goes to talk to him and he's like, no, I'm good. Thank you. And she says publicly, since you don't want to talk in private, I want to apologize for the way that I reacted to some situations. And I hope you accept it because I really do care. And I want to ask what you guys think about that. Like, what did you think of that apology? Should she have apologized or not?
Absolutely not. Did not need to. I think that she probably just doesn't like how maybe she handled their decision day or her letter. Maybe she regrets saying it, but I don't think she needs to say sorry.
I am with you. I don't think this was needed at all. I think in some ways it's almost like the David to Michelle thing where it's like a personal checklist. Like, you don't have to do this like for the other person. The other person doesn't want this at all.
Mm-hmm. Again, I was going back and forth, and I think I'm okay with her apologizing. I think there are two sides. I know some people didn't appreciate her read at the decision day. I was fine with it. I was okay. It was fun. But I think if she felt bad about it, whether he receives it or not, if you acknowledge and it's outside of your character and it's not something that you wanted to do, apologizing is okay. And maybe it is a checklist. Two things can be true. Maybe it's a checklist, but if that wasn't your spirit to do, I think that's okay to do that.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, even for your own self conscious, if that helps you heal and move forward, then
Hmm.
sure, go ahead and do that. There's no. It's one of those things where there's really no. There's no way to knock you. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, and in
Yeah.
the end, it's just a nice finality. It's done. That's it. I That is my piece.
Yes. So Ikechi does his confessional when he leaves, says he doesn't give two shits. And the whole time he was made to feel off, he was made to feel crazy. But his stance was that she wanted a plug and play husband. And in 3 weeks, this is not going to last either. And that was it. And that was the last we see of Ikechi. Oh, wait, the reunion. He's going to show up. Is he going to show up late? We don't know.
He better just keep it going.
Be consistent.
They're all just
So,
sitting there waiting for him to arrive.
so to round up the episode, I think Alan and Madison, he says, not trying to stir the pot, but the text that you sent me that you wanted to meet up, like what is there left to say? She says they haven't had a chance to talk one on one, that they went through things together and they had more of a relationship than not. I believe she was trying to say they had more of a relationship than Michelle and David. And then she caught herself and said, then not.
Oh,
Mm,
okay.
mm,
And
mm.
he says that, listen, I have no ill will and do you, but I took a hit. You brought me down. And dating has made him know that he is a good guy and he feels better about himself. His original thought was that he wanted to go out there, explore sexually, and he realized that he doesn't want to be that guy. And then Juan just yells out, hanging and banging. And I don't know why Madison thought she should chime in too. And she's like, smash and dash. Too soon.
Mm,
Mm-mm.
way too
Mm-mm.
soon.
I think something that I do appreciate that the show gives people is the ability to realize what what is really important to you,
Mhm.
and I hope they take that into their future relationships,
Yeah.
or their ability, either with the time with the experts or the exercises, the ability to be open and honest with your partners, to have all the conversations that folks are really shy, or are usually shy about having.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dr. Pepper says that all the time. Like, even if it doesn't work out, just hope that you're able to learn lessons from this. And I would love to hear what Madison and David have learned from this. And if they say to go for what you want, I'm going to fall out my chair.
I was
Well,
just gonna say that. It
no,
was
well,
gonna be don't let
Brandon,
anything hold you back when you know you know.
no, Brandon said we don't lose, we win or we learn.
Oh my
And
God.
in Madison and David's case, they felt like they won.
She won the lottery, gem of a prize of a man. I wonder if Brandon's writing a book too. Um,
Oh no. Hope not.
Alan says he wanted to be a hoe, but it's not in him. And then Thomas just starts singing, I'm going to get laid tonight. And that was just funny to me. So, and really, that's how it ended. We get like a slow mo of them, Camille and Thomas, their golden couple, just walking away and I guess walking into their new life. And we get a preview of the reunion, which didn't seem so exciting.
It didn't. I mean, there were a lot of cuts, and I always give crap to MAFS of how they'll ask a question and then you'll only see one person in a reaction shot. It's not giving me much.
Mm-hmm. So, but we have two parts. So hopefully we get something exciting. But was there anything that you guys wanted to add? We,
I just wanted to add, I know they weren't the most interesting, but I'm really happy that Camille and Thomas ended up together. And it seems like from all signs that they're going to have a great relationship.
yeah, I'm really hoping they're still together because I think this is the longest gap we've had from the end to the reunion. So hopefully they're still together at this point. Okay, I'll start with you, Ellie. Who has your bouquet?
Oh, is it too? I just love that Camille and Thomas ended together. Am I allowed to give it to two people?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, the most unproblematic, just nice couple. I'm giving it to them. Unexciting, but I appreciate them and I'm glad that they found love.
Understood. It makes sense. How about you, Leon?
I think my man Alan needs a bouquet. I think I
Oh,
wish him
yes.
All the best. I want love for him. I think he's a great guy. I think he had moments where he was just I think he was misrepresented, or his slight, negative
Mhm.
side of him was magnified where I don't think it really deserved to be. So I wish him all the best.
Yes. My bouquet goes to Carla. Like, just who would have thunk at the start of the season that this is the person that's going to have be the most sensible of them all, and also just creating her boundaries and saying like, I don't want to be friends with Juan, standing like what you guys did was wrong for Madison and David, and being vocal about, I didn't like that this man said MM is his only light. That's a red flag. Like saying it out loud. So it goes to Carla for me. And who has your ashes, Ellie?
Madison, again, unexciting, but just such a nasty attitude. Mean. What does Carla have to do with anything? Why are you mocking her? Like, it's just too much. I also want to give it to David. Let's just keep the theme of giving it to two people on my
Okay.
end. David as well, just the sexual innuendos and just their really bad acting at pretending this was like a first kiss and everything being a first. Little much.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same for me. More so just on David. I think he's oddly just an incredibly immature human being. I think
Mhm.
he doesn't take accountability for his actions. I think the way he handled everything was disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, let's just make it a three-peat. I'm with you guys. Like,
There we go.
there's nothing else to say. Like, it was just everything about it. You are not a high school boy. You claim that you came here to get married, and everything you're doing in this relationship does not seem like it. And Madison was just nasty. Even if we had excuses for everything else, that mocking, going down the stairs, put me in a ring, I'll knock you out. Why? Unnecessary,
Yep.
for me. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. But before we leave, can you share with people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find us on all major podcasting apps. You can also find us on Twitter, X now, and Instagram at From the Friar Podcast. We also cover Sister Wives when that's going on, currently at a hiatus, but we will be back with them as well.
Yes, guys, and you know where to find me. Also call MAFS, the same handle on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky. And please give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I will be back next week for the first part of the reunion. Until then, bye, guys.